in my side.
All right.
You're lying!
Naughty girl.
There's witches that are still alive!
Our story starts with a broken and homeless orphan named Adonis who is taken in by the strongest, hottest witch of that land. She adopts him and becomes his mom. Although things drastically change on the day that the vain and evil-tempered emperor publicly humiliates her before taking her life. Devastated, heartbroken, and seething with rage, Adonis swears to avenge his mom and eliminate the emperor and all who side with him. But let's take it all the way back to the beginning. Way back in the day God created humans. Then he made witches. He gave them a share of his power and put them in place to help guide humanity. The witches didn't play around and did their best. But humans being humans, we generally suck. And after a while, resentment and jealousy grew. We started hating our divine guidance counselors and began to hunt them for sport. Salem witch trials ring a bell? Anyway, we meet a witch named Chloe Morgan and her adopted apprentice, Adonis, who are wandering the desert, Moses style. Morgan is as confused by her 1,000-year-old map as we are. But crafty Adonis pulls out his homemade iPhone and activates his GPS. Morgan checks him about using technology as it's traceable. Hello, NSA. If the government's not tracing you, the tracking cookies will. Adonis, being a dumb child, tries to explain that he made this iPhone with summoning magic, which doesn't need radio waves or Wi-Fi, so military triangulation tech won't be able to find it. He even goes so far as to tease Morgan about her Moses map when modern magic could make things so much easier. But Morgan quickly educates silly Adonis and makes him hip to what's really good. Adonis goes super emo as he simply cannot understand why they are constantly on the run and can't settle and live their best lives. Morgan breaks it down for him. Basically, humans are jealous, selfish, entitled, corrupt beings who wish they were God's favorite like the witches. Since they aren't, they've become obsessive and have started hunting and lynching witches for fun. Sounds kind of familiar. She assures him that one day they will find a place that they can live in peace, safe and sound without a care in the world, and hopefully a school to teach Adonis some damn manners like respecting your elders. But Adonis says that Morgan is the only teacher he wants and needs. Okay, elder fetish, go off. Even Morgan teases him about wanting wrinkly ladies for fun time. Anyway, off they go deeper into the desert while Adonis gets all broody and thinks about activating his Malcolm X mode to fight the power and burn the cities down. That's when a platoon of soldiers become aware of them. Adonis wants to prove himself and fight, but Morgan says to leave it to her young grasshopper. That's when she summons her staff and activates her ice magic. Back in the Rhedia Empire, Emperor Gerda is super pissed. His border control agents have failed to capture Morgan. The innocent messenger gets a beat down for bearing bad news, and the Emperor demands that Chloe Morgan be captured and brought to him no matter the cost. Back to our desert dwellers. Morgan has pimp-slapped the agents and lets Adonis know it's time to hit the road jack. Adonis is aggravated because Chloe won't let him unleash his dragon. His powers. Somehow this young grasshopper thought he can kick butts and take names easy peasy. To show us what he's working with, he summons an enormous sword. Chloe tells him that he's just a little boy and to slow his roll. Adonis has some underlying issues and thinks that the actual reason Chloe won't let him go buck wild is because their enemies are humans like him. He reassures her that he doesn't even like sucky humans and would have no problem eliminating them all. All he wants is to keep her safe. Little homie starts crying and is an emotional wreck. Chloe Morgan rushes to hug him and tell him she loves him too when suddenly one of the soldiers' devices activates and transmits their location. The earth starts quaking. They levitate and then they're surrounded by a shining green light. Frightened and flabbergasted, they hold hands and are teleported away. At the Empire, the Emperor gives a national speech. He speaks of how witches used to protect and guide them, be their saviors. But weak little humans have secretly always feared powerful women. Since they've become technologically superior, they seem to think they have no need for magic or overpowered witches. The silly emperor claims that having smartphones have made them smart too. Okay, little buddy, He demands that all witches be eliminated and that useless humans become the grand rulers of the world. The crowd is hyped as hell and cheer in agreement. That's when Morgan and Adonis are teleported right in front of the jeering crowd and the vile emperor. Greatly outnumbered, Adonis attempts to give Morgan a chance to run for the hills, but he is caught and subdued. Enraged, Morgan threatens to turn things back to the Ice Age if they don't let her boy go, but the emperor only sneers. She starts to cast a super spell, but then her magical ice crystals fall to the ground and her powers fails due to something blocking it. The crowd is ecstatic and little Adonis tries to activate his abilities to no avail. The vile emperor declares the age of witches over and assaults Chloe by ripping her shirt and freeing the Tatiess before pimp slapping her. The perverted crowd enjoys every second of her disgrace. Adonis breaks loose and attempts to help her, but they catch him easily. That's when the emperor orders his agents to eliminate Adonis. Frightened and desperate, Morgan begs the emperor to spare Adonis, lying that she kidnapped him and raised him as her slave. She offers herself in exchange and Adonis is dumbstruck, knowing she's lying. He tries to use his magic, but again it's to no avail. The sadistic emperor pulls his weapon. Morgan looks to Adonis and they share a sweet moment, reminiscing on their past. Just as she says "I love you," a shot rings out. Headshot followed by firing squad. It's an excessive execution and Adonis watches it all unfold. Trauma. The cherry on the cake is when the executioner beheads her, followed by the emperor showing her head to the overexcited crowd. Enraged and grief-stricken, Adonis declares to destroy them all and avenge his mama. 10 years have passed, and now we find ourselves in Aridia prison, where two women throw down over a piece of bread. A pretty pink-haired girl named Daroka offers the fighters her piece to keep the peace. Without thanks, the ungrateful women grab it. Daroka's friend Anna worries as it's her second day without food. Daroka says it's all good and not to worry. Anna is shocked by her positive attitude even in this dire situation. She wonders why they are still at war so many years after wiping out the witches and with so many technological advancements. Humans, bro. We suck. Anna and Daroka are war prisoners. But ever cheerful, Daroka tries to lighten the mood with a puppet show made from scraps. That's when the guards show up and demand prisoner number 218 come to the front. The imprisoned know that when you're called you never return. It's Anna's number, but Daroka bravely takes her place. Anna weeps for her friend who sacrificed herself for her. Daroka is brought before the warden, who admits that the prisoners are being trafficked. The freaky-looking warden takes a selfie with Daroka, claiming he'll get a high price for her. That's when quick-thinking Daroka bites his finger and runs like her life depends on it. She steals the warden's phone, attempting to unlock the cells, but is informed that the phone operates on voice activation only, specifically the warden's flamboyant voice. Hilariously imitating his voice, she manages to open all the cells. Daroka lets everyone know it's time to get the heck out of Dodge. Chaos ensues. Daroka is running for her life and somehow ends up in a hidden underground room. That's when some guards catch up with her and give her a few unwelcome kicks. Unfortunately for the guards, every cell has been opened, including this hidden one. They start to panic. The insane enclosure is opened and it reveals a person. He breaks free and we see Adonis, blazing with anger and ready to put a world of hurt down. As expected, the guards go full pansy. Adonis easily eliminates the closest one. He knives the second, and while the third tries to shoot, he is disarmed and gets a quick gut shot. Then he walks over to a frightened Daroka and fires at her handcuffs, freeing her before walking away. Homie is on a rampage. Meanwhile, it's a full-on riot. The National Security Bureau, or NSB Senior Director Yamato, is fully briefed and orders his subordinate Eekhout to head into the field and reclaim control. Eekhout is happy to oblige. Yamato's sister, another pink-haired cutie, is named Yuki and she is not impressed by Eekhout's nonchalant attitude. She's a spicy one who's all about duty and order. But Yamato reminds her that Eekhout is an executive just like her. So chill out, baby girl. As Eekhout heads to the prison, we get a peep show. Browski is hiding a fully armored body. Full Metal Alchemist, let's go. At the prison, the flamboyant warden is petrified when he realizes that Adonis is free. He is stunned that Daroka had managed to open the hidden cell, as his mobile did not have the clearance for that. Plus, Adonis managed to get his hands on his magic quill too, sitting pretty and high up overlooking the city. Adonis activates his magic and it works. He summons an enormous bullet that he fires straight into a building. Bro is ready to burn down the world. And who can blame him? Eekhout is at the prison gunning down every person he sees, including the warden and the remaining guards. Talk about a clean-up crew. Just then he gets notified about the giant bullet attack and heads over to investigate. Luckily, Daroka has made it out alive, but when she sees the giant bullet stuck in the building, guilt washes over her and she blames herself for his actions. Girl, what? How are you to blame, silly goose? We spot Adonis, barefoot, walking through the city. He misses his master teacher and knows she wouldn't want him out there hurting people. But Adonis is in full-on vengeance mode and obviously still deeply traumatized, so he summons a robot titan and gets to destroying everything he sees. The military gets a call, but they refuse to believe the caller. Then a driver crashes into their office, completely shell-shocked. He mumbles about a giant, and the officer thinks bro's been smoking that good stuff until he too takes a peek outside and sees what's really good. The NSB leaders Yamato and Yuki immediately take control and send ground and air support, declaring a state of emergency. Upon confirmation that Adonis is causing the ruckus, Yamato instructs his men to activate the magic suppressor, but his soldiers are unsure if it will still be functional after 10 years underground. Yuki is sent to confirm its usability. On the ground, chaos erupts and tanks are deployed. They fire at Adonis, but all their attacks are deflected. He uses his Titan to strike buildings and use the debris to smash tanks and humans and buildings alike. The stupid emperor made the biggest mistake by isolating Adonis to the extreme extent that he did. This gave Adonis ample time to mentally prepare, study, and understand the magic he would need to reenact his revenge. After years of preparation, Adonis is ready to slaughter a nation. He summons 2 gigantic automatic weapons and fires away, turning people into pasta sauce. An eye for an eye, and still Adonis does not yet feel fulfilled. He starts crying, heartbroken and overjoyed. At the same time, is he a Gemini? From a distance, Eekhout relays Adonis' location. He is chilling on the palm of his Titan. NSB immediately sends in several fighter jets who bomb away. They eliminate their own citizens in the crossfire. The damage is extensive and buildings come crashing down. Daroka manages to save a child at just the last minute. She still blames herself and promises to stop Adonis. Mind your business, lady. In a change of scenery, we are at the palace. The vile punk of an emperor is bedridden and on his last legs. Ha, ha, good. As he coughs his lungs up, he can't help but wonder if God has cursed him. Yet he feels no regrets for ending the witches, somehow convincing himself that their elimination was necessary for scientific evolution. We see flashes of Adonis' bum rushing the soldiers on the ground. He overpowers them, and it's a thing of beauty. As Adonis is about to choke the last punk soldier out, Daroka runs forward begging for his life. She has the audacity to tell Adonis that he's done more than enough and no more innocents should be excommunicated. Girl, what? This understandably angers Adonis, and he pops that soldier's head like it's an overripe pimple. At first he wanted to spare her, but thanks to her cheeky attitude, Adonis decides all humans need to be eliminated. Daroka has the nerve to say that Chloe Morgan wouldn't accept his behavior. Adonis flips and starts verbally insulting her, demanding she never mention Chloe's name again. He goes so far as to suspect that she's been sent by Rydia to distract him until they can gather more forces. This is when Daroka drops a bombshell. She's a witch too. Adonis doesn't believe her and starts choking her out, but she insists some of them escaped. Adonis demands to know where they were when they needed help. She begs forgiveness and says they were just desperate to survive, but now they have the ability to bring Chloe back. Revive her. Adonis still does not believe her. Then Daroka admits that she secretly entered Rydia to rescue Adonis. Apparently his memories are an essential part of the resurrection process. Adonis is too far gone and is just about to hack her head off. Daroka accepts her fate, and that's when Adonis gets a vision of Chloe moments before she passed and starts crying. He is a wreck. Daroka reaches out to him and promises that she'll be there for him. He is not alone in this. And that's when Eekhout blasts her from up high with his sniper weapon. Eekhout is a little disappointed as he wanted to take them both out, but oh well. Next thing we know, we see a young Daroka watching as soldiers burn down her village while hunting down witches. Mia, an older witch, warns Daroka to run for her life and head to their upper witch, Madame Ophelia. Daroka wants to fight back as they are innocent, but Mia points out a machine that blocks their abilities. Mia tells Daroka to follow the revelation star and run as fast as her little legs can carry her. She also gives her the little scrap puppet as motivation. As Daroka runs, the brutal soldiers surround Mia. Flashback done, we are back in the now. Daroka is all kinds of messed up. Adonis screams at her to live as he needs to know how to bring Chloe back. As Daroka coughs up some pasta sauce and tries to relay important information, soldiers empty their clip and Daroka goes night-night. The soldiers have him surrounded and fire away thinking it's all over. But Adonis just summons a barrier and returns the bullets from whence they came. Eekhout thinks he can use the same sniper trick again, but Adonis is onto him and stops the bullet, enlarges it tenfold and returns it to sender with a kiss. Bye-bye Eekhout. Back at the suppression machine, Yuki demands that Director, Theta, activate it immediately. Sucks for them, but Theta says heck no. Yuki demands to know why not. So Theta calls Yamato and informs him that the machine is too dangerous. Apparently it emits particles that make humans start red, foaming all over the place. Every single soldier that took part in the witch hunts, their insides turn to pasta sauce. Theta also reminds Yamato that without witches, climate change has become a major issue and the atmosphere is non-existent, making the emissions from the machine even more threatening. We also learn why the vile emperor is kicking the bucket. His machine is the cause of his incurable disease. Good riddance. Adonis continues his rampage and the humans know they are on the losing side. Theta orders Yuki to get the heck out, but Yuki is a stubborn fool. She rushes to activate the machine. Theta chases after her and orders everyone to evacuate. Yuki doesn't care about the consequences and like a typical hot-headed military extremist, she pushes the activate button. And Adonis's magic immediately stops and he drops his quill. Damn! Theta is still on the line with Yamato, and with a pasta sauce-covered mouth and clothing she lets him know that she switched off the machine. Yamato asks about Yuki, but Theta reminds him of his duty. Stop Adonis and save the Empire. Okay, Star Wars. Yamato orders his men to attack immediately. Adonis rushes to pick up his fallen quill as the soldiers aim at him. Then a female soldier speeds towards him just as a building collapses between them. She activates her blade and beheads Adonis in one fell swoop. He welcomes it, happy to be free and to join Chloe. Proudly, the female brings Adonis's head to the rest of the unit. Everyone is ecstatic, believing their empire has survived this SS-level threat. Yamato tells them to calm their horses and collect his body and also save any survivors. We learn the executioner is a new recruit. But Yamato is not interested and only worries for Director Theta and his sister Yuki, while the sickly emperor makes a public announcement filled with blah-blah nonsense, proclaiming themselves proud heroes and survivors and blaming Adonis and the witches for everything, calling the citizens and the Rhedia nation the new god. Talk about a superiority complex. A young schoolgirl named Rhea watches the speech on her iPhone. Their teacher says it's okay to mourn, but don't forget that exams will continue. Harsh. A single student asks why Adonis, who's human, would choose witches. The teacher says he was probably an indoctrinated silly little goose. Class ends and Rhea is approached by another student claiming she knows what she did. But Rhea shuts her down. Next we see her at the memorial site where she gets a flashback as to what happened that day. Rhea is upset at her shitty government and guilty that she couldn't save her boyfriend from his fate of being crushed. She's also ashamed of her mixed feelings because she's attracted to Adonis. We don't blame you, girl. She has some pervy pics on her phone that unfortunately she is caught looking at by Chief Gorgeous. He tells her not to worry, that he won't snitch, but as soon as Rhea runs away he calls in and reports her for treason. Chief Gorgeous is then informed that the disaster inspection has been completed. The soldiers leave the area as investigator Charmy reports that she's analyzed Adonis's body and it's fake. Adonis awakes, screaming in pain. He is surrounded by witches who are performing emergency surgery. The witches fear that the transfer is too overwhelming for a human body. Ophelia enters the chat and uses her abilities to bring his brain back to full functionality. Adonis is suffering, and we see a flashback of what truly transpired. The female soldier who hacked his head off is Anna, Daroka's friend and fellow infiltrator. Anna informs Adonis that his extraction is their primary mission, and their end goal is to revive Chloe. Then giant white bandages wrap him up in a protective ball, and off he goes. Back in the now, Adonis falls off his sick bed, and Ophelia kneels beside him and hugs him, thanking him for all he has done in the name of witches. Adonis, ever angry, demands to know who these ladies are. Ophelia informs him that he is in the nation of witches. Adonis gets a tour. Everywhere he looks are happy-go-lucky witches living their best lives. Every witch they come across treats him kindly and with respect, knowing that he is Morgan's apprentice. Adonis is disgruntled and wonders how they all know his master. Ophelia breaks it down for him. Chloe was loved and admired and known throughout their nation for her strength and wisdom. Unfortunately, they had to exile her for taking Adonis, a human, as her apprentice. Their magic is a gift from God, a sacred responsibility not meant for humans. Acting like a typical human, Adonis is enraged and says he's done chatting. That's when Ophelia shows him his feathered quill and gives it back to him. Adonis only has one more question. Can they really bring Chloe back? Ophelia tells his ungrateful behind that witches don't lie. Comforted and finally taking a good look around him, Adonis notices the earth in the distance. What the heck? They are in a sanctuary built on the moon. Far from humanity. Ophelia breaks it down for us while showing all the gravestones of witches eliminated by human greed and stupidity. She then brings Adonis to the divine Mito tree, a tree that bears witches. The only one left, as humans burnt the rest. This tree births or regenerates witches. Adonis is filled with hope, wishing that Chloe is inside one of the bulbs. Ophelia starts to teach. Magic is nothing more than taking thoughts and giving it a tangible form. Adonis's use of magic is a great example. He writes and manifests. With his magic, he can use his memories of Chloe and seal it into any one of the witches on the tree, bringing her back to life. Ophelia lets him know to tell her when he is ready to bring Chloe back. Adonis is ecstatic, afraid, and also filled with a spark of hope. He lays under the tree deep in thought. This is when Anna approaches. She is visibly upset that Daroka was lost while saving his ungrateful, angry, entitled butt. Adonis is without sympathy and says it's not his problem and he won't thank them. Easy now, brother. Anna says he is a good-for-nothing selfish human. She wonders why they even saved him. But Adonis fires back that they don't want to help him. They just want Chloe back. This stuns Anna, but he lets her know what's really good. Before Daroka passed, she filled him in on the witch's real plan. Adonis knows that witches can survive extreme environments, so their little moon nation is nothing but a prison built to house humans. He thinks the witches are going to steal children, raise them on the moon while teaching them magic to form an army to fight against the evil human empire. As too many witches have passed in this war already, and they refuse to sacrifice more. But they need Chloe's special skill of making feathered quills to use for summoning magic for their future prisoners. This is the only reason they want her back. Anna hopelessly asks Adonis what he's going to do now that he knows what's really good. She demands that he help so that Daroka didn't give her life for nothing. Adonis says he'll help to bring his master back, but if she won't join the witches, know that they will be his enemies too, and he smiles menacingly. It's time for the resurrection ritual. Adonis does his part and transfers his memories. We see nostalgic images of Morgan and the love they shared. The ritual completes with a flashing bright light, and to everyone's surprise, Daroka pops out. We see Adonis emotionally stating his love for Chloe, and because of his deep love for her, he refuses to bring her back to a life filled with witches who want to use her gifts and humans who want to hunt her. That is why he resurrects Daroka, as a thank you for trying to save his life. As Daroka blooms, he catches her. She's super confused to be brought back, as her last memories are of her suffering on Earth. When she realizes her nudity, she jumps from his arms. Embarrassed, she begs everyone to forget what they saw. Adonis walks over and hands her a cover-up. All the witches are super pissed that Adonis broke their agreement and brought Daroka back. Ophelia demands answers. She reminds him they saved his life and risked their own to bring him there. All they wanted was Chloe in exchange. The rest of the witches chime in, saying an evil, entitled human could never be trusted and he's probably got the hots for Daroka. That's when Ophelia turns her hatred to Daroka and starts questioning her. Adonis tells them to shut their filthy mouths as this was his decision alone. Ophelia gets hyper and is about to attack Adonis when suddenly weird lights flash around them and interferes with their magic. Ophelia freaks and demands Adonis explain what the heck is happening. He claims innocence and says that he did nothing but be a prisoner sentenced to life. He shows them a bloody tracker that he's pulled from his body. Explosions occur and the very last Mito tree is engulfed in flames. It's NSB director Yamato and a squad of soldiers who surround the witches. Yamato cleverly traced Adonis and laughs that he has caught them in a trap. Adonis is unbothered and says they should be thanking him for the exclusive invite to the end of their lives. That's when another witch informs Ophelia that she'll save the Mito tree with her water magic. She makes a start, but a soldier slices half her head off and the tree keeps on burning. Ouch! Ophelia loses it and tells the rest of her witches to knuck whichever soldier bucks. Adonis and Yamato get into it, and it's going down. Yamato is quick to draw first blood, but Adonis uses summoning magic to stealthily disarm him, and he starts firing away happily. Then Daroka interrupts the festivities with a pleading look. We then spot the witches fighting back, and it's a sight to behold. Crystal and reptile and plant magic is employed to eliminate the soldiers. Ophelia too employs her flotation magic, even slowing down the trajectory of their weapons, which all miss their shot. She makes all the soldiers fly up, forms a ball, and crushes them mid-air. Pasta sauce splatters. The witches think they have the upper hand until the second squadron arrives. It's a never-ending story. The humans will keep coming and continue hunting them. A live video playback streams the witch genocide to Earth. As people watch, they are deeply stressed that so many witches survived the purge 10 years ago. Director Theta, who looks like she's about to kick the bucket any second, due to the suppression machine, is made to explain. Thera admits that during the purge humans used some tech prototypes to send witches to different locations in space. But some witches used that same technology to escape beyond human reach. The National Authority, a Mr. Dynasma, is flabbergasted that witches outsmarted them and used their tech to survive. He angrily blames Theta, but is interrupted during his Screamfest by a Russell Brand look-alike named Shirasaji, who's the head of National Intelligence. He tells Dynasma to calm his taties and to deal with the witch's plague first. We take a journey back to when Yamato was watching over a sickly Yuki. She has end-stage cancer due to being a silly female who doesn't listen to logic. Yamato stands by her medical chamber and talks about how his baby sister became the vice director of the NSB at only 14. A silly child should never have so much responsibility. Look at her now. But Yamato loves her too much to hold her accountable. He blames Theta, but most of all he blames Adonis and vows vengeance. Back at the battle, Yamato powers his armor to 500% output and gets ready to whoop, but like the Flash. Daroka backs off. Strange how when humans attack it's all good, but when Adonis fights back it's a problem. Anyway, Yamato power punches Adonis across the field. Big-eared Yamato is raging and screams race traitors must suffer. Chill bro. He draws his sword and releases some kind of anti-witch slash that spreads around him. This magical-looking tech is so overpowered it hacks all nearby witches in half. Most of the witches are turned to pasta sauce except for Adonis, who does a matrix move, and Daroka, who Anna saves just before leaving this life herself. Even Ophelia goes to the great beyond. Back on Earth, they try to get an update as the video feed is cut and it's gone radio silent. The entire moon base is drenched in pasta sauce. Daroka has gone full cry-baby mode. Only Adonis and Yamato are left standing. Yamato is quick to report that he has made a full Italian dinner, and all that's left is to chop up Adonis and add him to the mix. Adonis covers himself in magical armor, and he and Yamato get down to business in a field of marinara sauce. Adonis pounces, and with a flying jump, he avoids Yamato's slash while enchanting his fist. He fractures Yamato's sword, and the punch follows through to his chest, crushing it. But Yamato is no punk, and he grabs Adonis's fist while repairing his sword through regeneration. He starts slashing again. The few remaining witches are crestfallen, depressed and hopeless, covered in pasta sauce and crying over their lost loved ones. Ophelia, well, the upper half of her, says to never give up and never surrender. But the Mito tree is charred, so no more witches can be born or brought back. A single witch shouts that they need to support Adonis, but she gets capped from behind as more soldiers arrive to party. Yamato stabs the ground, and somehow his sword creates a marinara tornado. Their tech looks and acts like magic. So I don't understand the inferiority complex. But I digress. The force of the tornado sends Adonis flying, giving Yamato the opening he needs to skewer him. He thinks he finally has the upper hand, but Adonis simply summons an enormous sword which slices Yamato's arm, sending it flying in another direction. Luckily, his arm has tech that prevents things from getting critical. Looks nasty though, like Bubbaloo bubblegum. Adonis recognizes the revenge is Yamato's eyes when he promises to send him to the great beyond. This is when Daroka screams stop. No one can move, even the soldiers who are about to pop her. She walks towards Yamato and asks if he's the leader and what's his name. Yamato is stunned that he answers. But Daroka's love spell is highly effective. Why you only using it now, girl? Damn. Adonis laughs insanely and screams that she should put Yamato's face on a t-shirt. With clenched teeth, Yamato listens as Daroka, with a trembling voice, begs him to end this war and leave with his soldiers. She'll stop the spell if they'll stop fighting. Adonis screams she's lost her freaking mind. Yamato has eliminated so many witches, including her bestie Anna. Even Yamato agrees, laughing at her. He breaks free of her spell and starts to Ike Turner her. Witches must be annihilated. They are a cancer that must be destroyed. He screams that Adonis has hurt too many innocents to continue living. Daroka uses her abilities to stop his violent attack on her, and then kindly reminds him that he has hurt far more people than Adonis. She reminds them that they used to live in harmony and have a chance to do so again. That science is a greater threat than magic and they can coexist in peace. Yamato is hard-headed, so Daroka uses all her abilities to take him back to his youth, and we see them hugging. His puppy love vision overwhelms him and he agrees to obey her. But out of nowhere, Adonis does a Hannibal Lecter and slices Buddy's brain, turning him into a splashing bottle of Chianti. Adonis says he only has revenge left and remarks that Daroka's super abilities will definitely make destroying humanity a piece of cake. He offers her a hand and a choice. We return to Earth and see the crazed Emperor receiving a report concerning all that has occurred on the moon. But all the demented fool cares to hear is that complete annihilation has occurred. When the messenger says that it's gone radio silent, the Emperor starts screeching, "Burn it, burn them all, burn the moon," sounding like the Mad King in Game of Thrones. The Psycho Emperor demands his wife cuddle him and hold him tight. He compliments her and then starts demanding compliments from her too. The messenger, watching the insanity, realizes his king is crazy. No doubt about that big fella. The king is like an insane puppy adoringly in love with his queen, who, surprise surprise, is a witch. She cast a love spell on his evil bum. Don't know why she didn't stop him from hunting her own kind, but okay. She orders the king to jump off his castle and off he goes. The messenger is quick to understand that the queen is a witch and he calls for backup. But she quickly love spells him too and has him report a false alarm and that the king tripped and fell. She summons Shirusagi, who's been chilling behind her. She wonders if it was a mistake getting rid of that crazy old king. Shirusagi replies that their puppet was losing his usefulness. Dorothea, the queen, finally explains her reasoning. Her spell only affects men, not women. Making the other witches a threat she can't control, so they needed to be eliminated. She's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She's the cause of the purge 10 years ago, but her goal is not world domination. All she wants is Adonis. He's the only man capable of using magic, and she wants him under her control. Dorothea kinda looks like Doroka, and interestingly, they share the same power. Anyway, Dorothea is so powerful she transcends the multiverse. Yet she's obsessed with Adonis and even has pics of a red-haired version of him. Back in the moon base, Adonis asks Doroka to help him eliminate humanity, but she of course refuses. But her spell is still in play, making the soldiers immobilized. Adonis summons pasta sauce tentacles with his quill and starts tearing the men apart. The soldiers are terrified and silly Doroka tries to interfere again. She threatens to use her love magic on him, but Adonis pops up in front of her, all in her face, and dares her to try him. He reminds her that she's not immortal. Laughing maniacally, he goes back to fighting the good fight and Red spraying the remaining soldiers. She warns him that his lust for vengeance will only cause others to lust for his elimination. It's a never-ending story, but Adonis doesn't give a damn, and who can blame him? Why is the victim always expected to be the bigger person? Adonis keeps squishing soldiers and Doroka keeps nagging. After eliminating the rest, Adonis picks up Yamato's head and uses magic to remove his face. Okay, face off. Okay, Nicolas Cage. Go off. Adonis uses Yamato's face and voice to transmit a report to Earth. He declares the battle won at a great cost and claims to be the only survivor. He asks to be teleported. But Director Theta is super suspicious and says that isn't Yamato. Adonis chucks Yamato's face after ending the call and grabs Doroka, demanding she accompany him as she'll be useful. Doroka is disgusted and pimp slaps him, saying Chloe would hate who he has become. The teleportation lights start flickering and activates around them. Ophelia's upper half is still alive, and she starts an emo monologue that she finally understands that this was Adonis's plan all along. She says God will judge him, and she apologizes to her sister witches. Blah blah blah. Just before he teleports completely, Adonis apologizes too. But Earth is onto him, and a platoon of armed forces awaits them. They start firing away, but the portal is empty. They realize the transfer coordinates were altered mid-flight and the signal is untraceable. Adonis and Doroka are standing somewhere in a crater in the desert. Adonis reads the stars to know his location. They are covered in red foam but are ready to rock and roll. We get a quick flashback and see Doroka telling Adonis that some witches survived and need help, but he was too busy changing their coordinates to care. Back in the now, he lets her know that they'll take down the Earth Empire by starting with small towns till they reach the kingdom. But first they need food, info, and medical supplies. Adonis starts walking away, but Doroka starts with her irritating nagging boo-hoo nonsense again. She demands to return to the moon. Adonis says, "Little girl, grow up." And she angrily replies that he's the child, obsessed only with revenge and hurting humans. He activates his flashback generator and shows her begging Yamato for their lives like a pathetic wimp. This embarrasses her. Adonis says he understands why the other witches didn't like her. She was constantly brown-nosing humans and picking them above her own kind. Doroka goes full emotional damage mode and says for many years she had wanted to meet Chloe's apprentice, hoping he'd be the bridge between them all. But she was wrong. Adonis says, "You know nothing, Jon Snow," and she starts lecturing him again, saying the war will never stop. How many more humans will he hurt? Adonis harshly replies that Morgan was worth more to him than every single human in existence. Every single one will pay. Doroka then has the nerve to blame Adonis for the Moon Massacre. But he points out that the Moon Massacre is the reason both of them are still alive. Doroka goes full cry-baby mode, whining and nagging about her massacred friends, yet demanding that Adonis not get justice. "Doroka, you are a nutcase. Adonis tries to walk away, but she jumps on him and cries some more, saying not to let vengeance harden his heart, that Chloe sacrificed her life for his, and not to become like those who took her from him. But revenge is what Adonis needs to make his life and Morgan's passing mean something. That's all there is to it. Doroka starts wailing again. Literally all she does is cry. It's kind of pathetic. Adonis faints, severely injured. That's when a group of bikers spot them and think they are probably escaped slaves getting freaky. Their leader, Mr. Punch, is asked what they'll do with them.